avetproject.org, avetproject.org on the net. Check out us on Facebook, AVET Project and American Warrior Radio. There's also a Veterans Benefits site on Facebook. You can get all this information. And of course, if there's an episode you'd like to send to a friend that you think that might interest them, we archive past episodes on 1300WMEL.com. Click on the Archives tab. They're by title. Just shoot them on to your friends and share this information because you ain't getting it anywhere else. Glenn, before the break, we were talking about all the presumptives and stuff, and there's something very important that you wanted to add.
Yeah, for those who got off the ship while it was docked in Vietnam for whatever duty you might have had to do, then you need some evidence that you were at the wrong place at the wrong time, so to speak. And one place for that is through my years of doing veteran service work, discovered that ships...
A few years.
Yeah. Ships put out like a high school album. They put a cruise book out for each cruise that they go on.
A Westpac.
Yeah, and it may, in fact, show where they went. And it will show things like they docked in Vietnam on such and such a day. And then you can get buddy statements and your own statement about you being aboard the ship then. You may also... It may also be shown in ship's logs, and you can get those through the internet. Just type in ship's logs, and it'll connect you to the right kinds of sites. So those are some other places to get the right kind of evidence to prove that you got off the ship while it was docked in the Republic of Vietnam.
Okay, so that covers a lot of ground there. We want to get to the specific list of presumptive service-connected disorders. In other words, if you are one of those vets that was exposed to herbicide, Agent Orange, over in Vietnam, there's a whole laundry list. Now, for the most part, we're just going to scramble through these because I want to just kind of, click your memory. If you remember a doctor saying you had one of these diagnoses, brother or sister, you need to get to the VA or a credentialed service officer ASAP.
That's right, and file the claim for it along with including the evidence of your diagnosis. If that's already been diagnosed by the VA, so much easier.
Right, and we're going to talk about some of them obviously are cancers, and there's a little elaboration I'm going to do after we get through this list. But Glenn, let's start.
Amyloidosis, a rare disease caused by abnormal protein which basically dissolves your internal organs, so you don't want that.
Right, chronic B-cell leukemias, bone cancers.
Right. Chloracne, very rare that anybody would have that. It's a skin condition that occurs soon after your exposure. So they go back to when you were in Vietnam, Korea, or Thailand. And then it must be at least 10% disabling within 1 year of exposure to herbicide. So within 1 year of when you left Thailand, the DMZ in Korea during a certain period of time, or the Republic of Vietnam, it had to be diagnosed. That's where most of them all fall apart. There's no diagnosis within that 1 year.
Exactly, which is sad, but that's the way the rules are written right now. If you are one of those presumptive vets that was exposed to Agent Orange and you are diagnosed with diabetes mellitus type 2, check that box.
Yep, and all you need is the diagnosis. Hodgkin's disease, which includes non-Hodgkin's and Hodgkin's disease.
Now, ischemic heart disease is one of the later additions. It's actually on the list that they just approved, which is wide-ranging. It is essentially any heart disease, any heart disorder, chronic, other than valvular or hypertensive.
Correct.
So if you've got some heart condition that is not categorized as having to do with the valves or the hypertension, it falls under ischemic heart disease, and it's a presumptive service-connected disorder.
Multiple myeloma, and I think I mentioned earlier, that's a very rare cancer of the plasma cells.
Yeah,
if you have it, you'll know it.
Exactly. These are scary names. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
We mentioned, and another new one is Parkinson's disease.
Which is a horrifying diagnosis, but if you're a Vietnam vet,
yeah,
this is important.
And it's a progressive disorder, so it gets worse and worse.
Right. Peripheral neuropathy, early onset. Again, that's something that has to do with 10% disabling within a year, so, it's a little nebulous.
Yeah, I've never seen one. Let's put it that way. I've never seen a claim approved for that.
And porphyria cutaneous tarda, again,
Same thing.
exactly. But the next one on the list, Glenn, what is that?
Prostate cancer, and that's a heavy duty one.
Oh my goodness. There are veterans from the Vietnam era, boots on the ground, that were exposed to Agent Orange that are getting diagnosed with prostate cancer at such a great number that the VA and the powers that be said, you know what, that's related.
Yeah.
And so once they get that diagnosis, boom, they automatically have approval for the claim.
Exactly, and the knowledge about this needs to be shared, as we mentioned at the start of the show, because even in the last week I was working for the county, we were still doing claims for Vietnam era veterans, or not era, Vietnam boots on the ground veterans for prostate cancer, some of whom had it 10 years ago.
And I'll give a quick example. At the last Vietnam and All Veterans of Brevard reunion, the gentleman that set up his booth, I think he was selling snow cones or something, next to AVET Project's booth, which, again, that's coming up in April here, folks. May, excuse me.
Okay.
Producer tells us May. Something you want to check out, the VVB site, Vietnam and All Veterans of Brevard. He had his setup there, was a Vietnam vet. He and I got to talk, and he says, I've got prostate cancer. Had no idea, Glenn.
Yeah, exactly. It's just mind-boggling of the lack of information that gets around, and or the information that gets around that's absolutely not true.
That's a fact. And Walt, if you're up there in New York State listening, brother, you need to check in with me, see how things are going. I think he got his claim approved already, which has only been, 6, 7, 8 months.
That's fast.
Respiratory cancers, again, basically a whole lot of cancers.
Yeah, and then soft tissue sarcomas, and sarcomas is a type of cancer, and melanoma is a type of cancer, and sarcomas does not include melanomas. And so oftentimes people would come to our office with the diagnosis of a melanoma, and we'd have to tell them, well, it's got to be a sarcoma, and some of them went off on us, but that's okay.
The law
That's
is
the
the law.
territory, yeah.
Exactly. So bottom line, 38 CFR 4.115B is in Baker. I know that's a lot. That's the actual codification of these rules. States that if you have one of these cancers, all right, that we just talked about, and it gets treated, I mean, from the time you get diagnosed with it until it goes into remission, what's going to happen, claims-wise?
You're going to be rated at a temporary 100%. And I use the word temporary because oftentimes we talk about eligibility for a particular benefit requires you to be 100% permanent and total. So if you're temporary, you don't meet that level of evidence that you need to qualify for many other VA benefits that permanent and total people do. So, but you're going to get paid at the 100% rate and be rated at the 100% rate for the entire time that you're getting treated after you're diagnosed for these presumptive cancers. And
then when they'll do a VA examination after you go into remission, 6 months following that, they're going to do an examination because you're going to get paid at the 100% rate up until that point. And let's pray to God that everybody does get good treatment and goes into remission. Then they're going to rate what's called the residuals, Glenn.
Exactly. And we'll take prostate cancer as an example.
I think it's a great example to use.
Prostate cancer, the residuals normally are rated on how frequent you have to urinate and other bowel issues that might have been affected by that. And
what about the neuropsychiatric effect of having your life changed inalterably?
Well, that's a possibility. You could also be on a secondary basis make a case for having depression because of the prostate cancer. And one of the things that could be a contributing cause of that is another secondary condition caused by prostate cancer, and that's erectile dysfunction. Most of those treatments result, unfortunately, in the loss of use of your creative organ, is what the VA calls it.
Exactly, and that's an important aspect of this whole presumptive disorder business with this specific illness, prostate cancer, because erectile dysfunction, you've all seen the blue pill and the Cialis and all these different things. If a doc diagnoses you with ED and you've just been cleared and you're in remission for prostate cancer, they're going to rate that as 0% disabling. However, what's that SMC stuff?
Yeah, special monthly compensation, and it's 90 something dollars extra a month right now. In the example we're using for loss of use of creative organ erectile dysfunction. And the VA generally will give you the blue pill or those kind of things to try and see if you can correct that disorder through the use of medication.
But they're still going to authorize the payment of SMCK.
Yeah, and that will continue. And if the it would stop if the medication works, which is the desired outcome. But
Right, but honestly, if you've been diagnosed with it and you're prescribed the pill, you're going to be getting special monthly compensation at the level K, which is the lowest level, about $100 a month.
yeah,
Again, tax free. But I just wanted to hit upon those other secondarily service connectable disorders, and I think we covered them pretty well there. One of the primary ones, though, is the frequency of urination.
yeah, that's the more general one that you see as rating of the residuals.
Which can be a dime. It can be 10% for voiding
or
dysfunction.
it could be higher. I mean, if it gets so bad that you have to use adult diapers and those kind of things, it can get up in the 60% range. So
Exactly, but the idea is be aware of that. For all of you that currently are post-prostate cancer Vietnam boots on the ground vets, that's a whole bunch of words, but listen, if you're in remission but you're having trouble with that, or if because of your loss of use of your creative organ, your erectile dysfunction, you become depressed, or in some other way it's transformed your life and you're just not the same person, let a psychiatrist diagnose you.
exactly.
But that is potentially a service connectable disorder under the, what is it, secondary?
Yeah, under secondary condition types of claims. And let me also go back real quick to the DMZ people. There is a time limit and specific units during that time limit that you had to be assigned to that were on or working near the DMZ. That does not continue to apply today. That was back somewhere around 40 years ago that time limit was for the mostly Army units that were stationed on or near the DMZ. A lot of people come in the office and say, I was stationed on the DMZ last year, and I'm
Not
sorry.
going to work.
Yeah. Another person I got to tell the law is the law.
So to restate all this stuff.
Summarize all this stuff.
Summarize. Presumptive service-connected disorders is not just the Agent Orange affected vets. Anybody within a year after discharge, if you get some crazy diagnosis, there's a chance for it. If you ever come down with a horrifying diagnosis of Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, you're going to be. If you're a former POW,
Yeah.
if you were a vet exposed to ionizing radiation.
Exposed to ionizing radiation.
And another important one.
It's Gulf War I veterans.
Okay, so let's just let that soak in for a moment. But I want to throw some announcements in here because we got another important topic we're going to discuss regarding a current issue, one of these other so-called invisible wounds of war.
Exactly.
But I want to throw it out there real quick. We had a great screening of service when women come marching home this last week, and it was well attended. And we want to thank Dr. Scott Fairchild and my co-host, Glenn McGuffey, for showing up to do the panel afterwards. It was very, very good opportunity for the folks that came to see the specific challenges that some of our female vets are facing. And Lori Parson, Dr. Lori Parson is available, as is Dr. Scott Fairchild, to help, particularly our women vets in this context anyway, deal with some of the issues they face, because they are unique to what men face.
Well, I mean, women are different than men. Women are from Mars and men the other way around. Women are from Venus and men are from Mars.
Something like that. During that post-panel discussion there, we had a couple gals stand up in the auditorium at Eastern Florida State College, really hitting home hard on how the Women Veterans Center, which is brand new deal up there on Grissom Park.
Yeah, the Women's Center up on right off of Grissom Park.
Right. It's not going well, people. These gals were upset with how it's being managed and actually were asked to leave once they got their compensation. And now they're homeless. So we've got some serious problems with that. If you're interested in finding out more, you know where to go. avetproject.org. Click on the Facebook, send a message, because these guys, this facility was specifically designed for single women veterans with children.
Exactly.
And their occupancy rate is, I think they have 2 people in there right now.
Yeah, and I understand some of their staffing are not veterans, so they don't have any understanding of what's going on. I would also encourage you, if you know of a specific instance that resulted in wrong care and a discharge of a person or a person left on their own because of how bad it was, call 632-1776. 632-1776. That's Congressman Posey's office.
And make some noise.
He's our congressman.
That's right. And Rob Medina, his community liaison, already is aware of this, and hopefully they're working to resolve some of the issues, which I'm sorry to say are managerial.
But the more complaints, the more ammunition.
That's right. I want to mention real quick a big thank you and a shout out to Pickin' and Grinnin' Thrift, who called in last episode and said that a wonderful lady had stopped by and had a Toyota station wagon that she wanted to donate to a veteran who was in need. Before the program even ended, we had got that puppy placed.
All right. That's wonderful.
Showed up with his DD-214.
Nothing like free.
Yeah, Mike O'Connor's always on the ball there, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
If you have any specific needs for household items, appliances, all that kind of jazz, you got to check out Pickin' and Grinnin'. They're on the web, too. Check them out. Want to also get a big thank you out to Store Smart, because these guys over there that run this wonderful facility offer an incredible discount. If you're moving or you just need some place to store some of the post-Christmas, post-holiday stuff, get in contact with Luke or Jack out at Store Smart, because they helped AVET Project again when we had to receive a large shipment of product in from one of our generous providers. Happened this time to be Ocean Potion right here locally. Some sunscreen that we're going to be distributing over to our troops in the Horn of Africa and elsewhere. And we didn't have the capacity, so they helped us out, and a big shout out to them. But more importantly, if you're a vet out there and you need good storage, secure storage at an awesome rate, probably better than any other rate here on the Space Coast, you got to get a hold of Store Smart.
If I remember right, there's discounts for veterans.
Oh yeah, definitely so. And folks, I want to also remind you that the 715th MP Company, 715th Military Police Company, right here from Ogali. All right, they've been over in Afghanistan for about a year. They're on their way back. Not just yet, but they will be here, best we can figure, about mid-February, and we really need some help. I know you're out there, and I'm talking to you folks specific here on the Space and Treasure Coast, but listen, if you're in Wyoming listening to American Warrior Radio and you want to help us help them, jump online. All right, avetproject.org. Click on the donate button. It's a secure PayPal site. Whether it's $5, $50, or $500, it will all help us help them, because we got to show them a welcome home.
Absolutely.
That's the 715th coming up in just a couple of weeks. We're always looking for sponsors for our PR&R program, Project Recuperation and Reintegration. It's an expensive program, folks, but just like every other AVET Project program or service, we never charge a dime to the participant or the recipient. Okay?
That's right, and there's nobody gobbling up the donations for salary. There's no salaries within AVET.
That's a fact. You're working with AVET because you have a heart and a passion to serve and look after those that otherwise wouldn't get help. PR&R really impacts the lives of our participants, and it's such a good thing. Honestly, there's information up there. We just did a nice little PSA that we'll hopefully have up and running with cooperation from the Eastern Florida State College Journalism, I think, or Broadcast Arts Department. So be looking for that. Just keep checking. And if you are unfamiliar with Facebook, no problem. Go to avetproject.org, lower left-hand corner, click on the
F.
Yeah, the F. Click on the Facebook icon. It'll shoot you right there. You can at least scroll through, see photos, interviews, all that kind of jazz. You may not be able to interact unless you're a Facebook member, but at least you'll be able to see what's going on, because that's the most up-to-date information. Of course, we list all of our events on the events tab from the homepage of avetproject.org. We also are in desperate need for a house to be donated to AVET Project, so that we can reduce the cost of holding these PR&R retreats. We've got to have a stationary place, land-based, because the program is anywhere from 4 days, 3 nights. we need a place to do this on a regular basis. We've got one in our Oregon operation, but we need one here on the Gulf Coast, on the Space and Treasure Coast. And I think it's important right now that we hit on that other topic and I don't want to breeze through it. I want to do it justice, but let's at least introduce it.
Okay, well, we're talking about expanded benefits for those warriors who've been diagnosed with traumatic brain injury. And that's become the signature wound of the both the Iraqi freedom and enduring freedom conflicts, which are, of course, Iraq and Afghanistan. Traumatic brain injury can occur in other ways for other veterans, car wrecks on active duty.
Well, how would it
so
happen
forth.
to a warrior, though? You're over there in Afghanistan right now, and what would happen that would bring this about?
Normally an explosion, an improvised explosive device, a mortar round blowing up nearby, hand grenade blowing up nearby.
So it's that concussive blast?
It's that concussive blast that, as we've talked about before, rattles that delicate little brain of yours that controls everything around in that hard shell called a skull and does damage to it. And sometimes very severe damage.
So think of an egg. If you took and put an egg in your hand and you start shaking it wildly, that yolk isn't staying in the center.
Yeah, good analogy.
Okay, that yolk is, let's say in this analogy, your brain, and it's crashing up against the sides. That has a detrimental effect.
Yeah, and the effects of that can be long-term, and in many cases are long-term, requiring brain surgery when you get to a place that has brain surgeons. I've seen pictures where the brain is so swollen from that they have to cut out part of the skull to allow space for the brain to expand, to hold down the damage because of the expansions. It's bad business, and it has lasting effects, negative effects on a person's ability to get around and speak and think and everything.
And even though we have specific battlefield machines, these MRAPs, mine-resistant, ambush-protected vehicles with this V bottom that's supposed to deflect the blast,
right,
we have, not anecdotal, but first-hand knowledge that those things, they don't stop the traumatic brain injuries from happening.
No, because of the concussive effect of the explosion. It may stop the direct stuff, throwing shrapnel through you and those kind of things, but it's still got the concussive blast, and that's the biggest cause of the traumatic brain injury for the warriors in the combat area is the concussive, the effects of that great big change in pressure, concussive effect.
I think and they call it an unseen wound of war because you could look at the guy or the gal and they look perfectly normal.
Yeah.
But then you may watch their speech or see them walk or, try and manipulate things or objects or do
even
simple
control
math.
their eyes.
Mm-hmm. A lot of different things. So there's some new business relating to this, Glenn. What do you make of the new stuff coming from the VA?
Well, this is a good thing, and the VA has just published a new regulation, and this was dated back December 16th, so the regulation's in effect because it was going to be in effect 30 days after the news release. So, and it is going to also provide separate service-connected disabilities for secondary conditions caused by the traumatic brain injury. And those secondary conditions, and what that means is back to what we were talking about earlier, is you got service connected for traumatic brain injury at whatever percentile that you get based on the severity of the problems with that. And then if you also have one of these that I'm going to mention to you, then you will get service connected for that with different percentage. And those are dementia, depression, unprovoked seizures, or certain disorders of the brain and pituitary glands.
That's important to know. We'll elaborate on that more in the future, so stay tuned to American Warrior Radio for more on that. Glenn, somebody has a need for claims representation. How can they get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of me at glenn@avetproject.org.
That's GLENN at avetproject.org. And you'll set up a meeting time with them?
Yep.
Real quick, what's the crisis line number in case somebody's in trouble
VA
out
crisis line is 1-800-273-8255.
Press 1.
Press 1 if you're for the veterans. And as always, don't forget, thank a vet.
Woohoo, guys. That was awesome.
We got a
I
lot.
look at that clock more often. I look at
flies
it
by.
as 4 minutes, and I look at it as 50 seconds.
Yep, I know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, what?
I don't like lizards. Great show today.
Thanks. We're
Thanks.
gonna have to remember to close that door because we can hear you guys out there. Hopefully it doesn't hear on the radio, but
Oh my
just
goodness.
to let you know.
Oh my goodness.
For your show, you might want, if you're recording,
The what?
shut that door so no one hears.
Oh yeah.
The
Why
noise.
is that door keeps open? So how does that happen?
Whoever
We're
walks
at the
in.
front. Come on in, Annika.
Thank you.
Well, I
We
apologize
will be
for
out
that.
of here in a second.
No problem. We'll all remember, right? Next time, and
Yeah.
I'll be. Maybe
No,
we need to
actually-
just put a thing that says, "Keep the door
Yeah.
shut, please."
Yeah.
What part does the cat play?
I think it was John that
That's
actually
just
did it.
the,
Well, that cat is so
mascot.
awesome. It's like instant
That's
love
just
right
the
there.
mascot.
This
Playing
is
with my
Annika,
scarf.
guys, and you guys
Hi,
are talking about
Annika.
cancer
Hi,
today.
Yes.
Yeah. I heard that.
She's a master herbalist.
No.
Oh,
And
we
my
like
aunt's
that.
a
Yeah.
female veteran that is going through cancer treatment too.
Yeah.
So it was quite interesting to listen to your show
Good.
out there.
Well, right on. We'll,
Yeah.
we'll
Good
be
for
listening
you.
to you also.
Thank you.
As we
Headsets.
always
You got your
do.
headset.
We got
on,
our
you got
own.
yours. I know, honey.
Yep,
That's
we
good.
got our own. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's best to bring your own, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Okay, and I lit a candle in here to
And you
smell
got
good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, ladies, have a great show. We'll be
Have a
listening.
great
Thank
show.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Break a nail or a leg or
Oh, how
whatever.
Oh, okay.
Shut in the door.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Oops.
I didn't
We'll
hear
just
it.
sit over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear this.
Take the blue ones.
Okay.
Okay, and get comfortable over there. It's just gonna be you and me today for
All right.
2 hours. We're gonna have
Exciting.
fun. Okay.
At least it's warmer in here.
Yeah.
I was gonna.
Okay, he just left his soda, his coffee there. I'm just not gonna dump it just yet. This one's comfortable chair there.
Yeah, that is.
Okay, so we're gonna adjust your mic
Okay.
here. How do you normally sit? You just scoot
Yeah,
up.
that's good.
Okay. We're gonna be about that far away from the mic. Okay.
Okay.
So if you're gonna stay like that, let me make sure your mic is on. Yep, it's on.
So pretty close.
Yeah, about that far.
Okay.
Okay. And it's just gonna be you and me having a normal conversation, just like we are
All
at.
the time.
Yep. Just like we do all the time. Which, by the way, I am so grateful for you. So
Oh, that's so nice to say.
I'm not saying it. I mean it. Okay, so I need to go talk to my producer.
Okie dokie.
I've got some water for you,
Thank you.
since you always have tea for me.
Yeah, my little tiny smidge of coffee I have left is not gonna
Yeah.
last that long.
Okay. Now I'm gonna go over some stuff with you.
Okay.
That way you feel that comfortable.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. And I'm gonna bring. Oh no! How did you get in? Come here, buddy. No. Annika, can you get him out?
Yeah.
Come here, buddy. Come on. I just can't touch him.
Oh, come here, you. I know. You like to hide behind the plant. No biting. No biting. Come here. Here you go, buddy.
Okay, so let's get started, shall we?
We shall.
Okay, now this is my comfort zone.
Okay.
Okay. And let me everything situated here.
I can.
Oh. I'm being a bad girl. Okay, this is me. Hey. Yes,
Correct.
and this is Annika. Annika, that's Vince.
Hi, Vince. Hello. Nice to meet you.
You're gonna love Annika by the time we're done. Okay, let's go over some stuff.
Okay.
Okay, get comfortable. The microphone. Don't try to look at me